So here's a question for you to ponder. What happens when you loan a narcissistic person money? Well, this could be a 2-second video. And most of you would respond, you don't get it back. But it's not a 2-second video. And in some ways, I'm going to say to you, not so fast, because I really wish it were that simple that you weren't going to get your money back. Now, listen, loaning people money belongs on the universal list of not a good idea things to do in relationships, but life happens, right? The rule most of us were raised on, and that we should recognize, is that you only loan people money if you are prepared to never get it back. And that applies whether or not you are dealing with a narcissist or an angel. Nature of people, nature of the beast. Now, when a narcissistic person asks you for money, there are different reasons for it, right? Now, obviously, most basic might be they just want or need the money. But some of these other reasons might depend on the type of narcissism, severity or narcissism, or the person themselves. In some cases, especially when it's more malignant narcissism or psychopathy, asking you for money may be more of a grift. And they may have even gotten into the relationship to take advantage of you financially or for other status reasons or resource reasons. Or as time goes on in the relationship, they do it, even if you don't have a lot of money. In other cases, though, them asking you for money may be a form of control and forcing you into contact and entangling you with them. For example, asking for a loan. And you may even agree to a date by which they have to pay you back. And then you're like, I don't want anything to do with this person. And they may draw that out to force maintaining contact with you till the day that debt is due. Then finally, them asking you for money can get tricky because they may need it, but it will bring up a whole shame dynamic for them. For example, like I said, the narcissistic person may actually have their back against the wall financially and need money from you or someone. And what gets tricky is they will also feel entitled to getting it from you with little regard for what hardship you giving them this money could be. And there may be a lot of passive aggression leading up to them asking you for the money, or even minimizing, again, the impact it would have on them, or that you have more money than them. And then they may go on more victimized rants about how your family had more money, or your family's always been more supportive, and that you just got lucky and that's why you have more money or your job, or that nobody appreciates what they do for a living and they were screwed and they don't get money. You get the idea. But this shame-based money asking dynamic that we often see in narcissistic people can also now set up a new power imbalance in the relationship. That means that the narcissistic person is now more uncomfortable and edgy and perhaps even more aggressive because they don't like the power difference that this has created because now they're beholden to you. Or they will punish you because they needed money and you gave it to them. So that put them in the subordinate position, but you actually did them a proper, so the whole thing's a mess, right? But there are some unique issues. I mean, again, loaning people money is never a good idea, but life happens. But there are some unique issues that are raised when you do loan money to someone who is narcissistic. The first, again, is something I've already hinted at, which is the bait and switch grift. Now, this is a common play for con people everywhere, and most cons are narcissistic or psychopathic, right? So you loan them money, and they pay it back. And in fact, they may pay it back pretty quickly. They might even give you a little bit of interest, just as they said they would. They may ask for money again, and again, they may even pay it back quickly. That might happen a couple more times. And then they may ask for money again, but this time they don't pay it back quickly. And they may make plausible excuses. I mean, this right here is the anatomy of every Ponzi scheme, right? And you believe them because they paid it back in the past. They may even give you some of the debt, but not all of it. That's not an uncommon play when you loan narcissistic people money. The second one is they control you, like I said, with some sort of money agreement. They actually write up a little contract or a promissory note. Now, obviously, the whole idea of money being contractual is something we see in narcissistic divorces. That gets, those divorces get drawn out forever as people spend $100,000 to duke it out over a set of Tupperware. But when it comes to loaning money to someone, and it goes upside down to someone narcissistic, and it goes upside down. So like I said, the example I gave, they write out this promissory note, and there's a date by which you guys agree that it has to be paid, because it has to be paid, like the due date on it. And you might even think in your mind like, okay, then by that point I can demand it back. But what the narcissistic person might do is wait until the last possible day, especially if you've disengaged from them. And they may use conversations about the debt to draw you back in. It becomes a sort of a hoovery thing. And because narcissistic people love a fight, they may take you right to the brink, like 11:55 on that day. And then after that, you find yourself having to get lawyers and the like. So you have to be prepared for that. And then you got to ask yourself if it's worth it. The third thing that will happen when you loan a narcissistic person money is that they ultimately will try to argue that you actually owe them something, so they don't really need to pay you back. So they'll start making bizarre arguments about promises that they allege you made. I mean, this is like the gaslighting level stuff. Like, I don't think I promised that. About the money. It'll be about, they might say, about how you had intended to invest in them anyhow, and it wasn't a loan. Or that they had done stuff for you that you owe them for, but they're talking about it in these terms after you were viewing it as a loan. It's very manipulative. The fourth thing is, you loan them money and then they'll attack your character. They may allege like, why do you keep coming after me for the money? You don't need it. Or that somehow you are petty in how you are going about asking for it, or that you're just money hungry or greedy. So they, again, start sort of cutting down your character, even though they're the ones who didn't pay you back. That's how they'll come at you. Or that they'll frame you as just being obsessed with getting paid back. And if it's already playing on existing self-doubt in the relationship, although that sounds kind of nuts, it works. The fifth thing you can think about is that they'll gaslight you and say things like, come on now, people in intimate relationships don't loan each other money, or we're in a family together, we just share, we're in this together. Or I thought because we were in a close relationship that this was just us being in this together. Of course, never noticing that they would never do this for you. My God, they'd probably charge you like 29% interest. But they will make you seem like you're the one who's not committed to the relationship, or that you're simply mercenary for saying, whoa, 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 that was a loan. And then they'll tell you that you just want a transactional relationship. You got to love the irony on that one. You loan them the money, you're the one who's mercenary. So number 6, if you do loan money within a narcissistic family system, you want messy. Again, you're going to be viewed as the one with the problem if you dare ask for it back. You give your narcissistic brother a help down payment for a house, they don't give it back, but the family says you're the problem. And this is especially true if you're doing better than other people in the family. The family will feel like you owe them or other family members, and that you're the problem, and that it's bad form by you to ask a family member for money back. But my guess is if you ever borrowed something, anything from them, I am guessing that you never heard the end of it until you returned it. Number 7, and this is where you kind of just got to be honest with yourself. You may just lose this money you loan them because you got to put a dollar value on your sanity and recognize that going after them for whatever this amount of money is may not be worth the hassle. To put this in real terms, a long time ago, God, it was a long time ago, I helped a friend who had broken up from a narcissistic partner, and she was trying to get money back from this narcissistic ex. And she's like, will you help me write a letter to him? And I did. But even as I wrote the letter, it was a good letter. I knew that she wasn't going to get the money back. I really knew that. He got the letter. He did all the usual stunts. He accused her of misleading him. He said, I never thought this was a loan. I thought this was when we were in a relationship together. It was a pretty substantial amount of money. And people in relationships share stuff, blah, 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 all the gaslighting nonsense I've already talked about. Ultimately, though, a couple more back and forths, a couple more letters, he did respond. And he fessed up to it. He didn't have the money. He offered to pay back part of it, did more gaslighting stuff, and ultimately she got about a third of it back. And then I said, let it go. I didn't even think you were going to get any of it back, so I thought her getting a third of it back was a win, actually. The combination of shame, entitlement, the need for control, and the manipulation that are just sort of standard practice in narcissistic relationships means that loaning a narcissistic person money is going to be worse than loaning a regular person money, who even the most agreeable person, a person who doesn't have a narcissistic personality. Because with a person who doesn't have an antagonistic kind of personality, odds are, again, that you're not going to get it back, or not going to get all of it back. But with a narcissistic person, not only are you not likely to get it back, the psychological cost to you may be one hell of an extortionate interest rate on the loan that you gave them. Again, that you are never going to get back, and that you may just opt to walk away from just to have to never deal with them again. Good luck and be careful.